Sorry about that. Seems like the sound's working just fine. And we are going to get started. The time we don't take to look back on our weeks and on our years to reflect and learn is time we lose in the future by making the same mistakes over and over again. That's something we're going to talk about today. For those of you watching, thanks for dropping by. My name is Toby. I'm 41 years old and I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep. I try to get between 7 and 9 hours of sleep in a night. I do so by minding what I eat. I try to get between 2,200 calories in a day. I try to eat a lot of greens, vegetables, all of the good nutrients that come from there. I don't avoid fish and meat, but I try to eat little of those foods. And I try to hit my protein goals in general, 60-70 grams, 60 to 80 grams on days that I don't train, 80 to 100 grams on days that I do heavy training to help me recover, build muscle, build my strength up. Beyond that, I try to spend time with people I love and care about, do things that I enjoy, generally try to live a stress-free life. If those are things that you're interested in and interested in talking with me about food, about sleep, about movement and activity, about connection, relationships, friendships, about mastery, hobbies, pursuits, go ahead, hit like, let the algorithm know this might be a good video. Hit subscribe, check out my channel. There's a lot of videos there. Videos of me working out, there are videos of me talking, there are videos of me sharing my point of view on life, which I think is maybe helpful for people who, like me, are starting out, or like I have, are starting out on a journey of health and fitness somewhere in their 30s or 40s and are looking for insights and people who've had the same experience and maybe want to learn how to stay fit and healthy for living an adventurous, fun, active, and self-sufficient life. We're going to talk about today's training. We're going to talk about reflecting on the week. We're going to use my wheel of living for that. And we're going to maybe talk about one or two small changes that you've made and how those are reflected in the overall health, well-being, fitness that you're seeing in your life. Are you ready? My coffee is ready, so let's get started. It is Sunday morning, by the way, so we take everything a bit easy and slow on Sunday morning because we can. Today's training, what did I do just now? I did a little bit of mobility, just about 14 or 15 minutes, just a little wake-up call just for my body to activate and to realize that the day has started, because after this recording I'm going to go out for a run, 45 minutes to an hour, to work on that general endurance and conditioning. That's today's training, and Sunday I do that because Sunday I have a bit more time also to recover, because generally recovering from a run leaves me tired and peckish throughout the day. I think there is this relationship between intense cardio work and the amount of food we just want to eat. Don't have the same problem when I go for easy walks or very light runs, like staying in zone 1, zone 2 while walking and zone 2 while doing cardio. But today, when I go out for a run, I'm going to push myself a bit harder. And I noticed that then, a couple of hours later and for the rest of the day, I feel like eating. I have this need to eat a lot. Doesn't matter how well I plan my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's this urge to snack, and it's easier to deal with that on a Sunday than it is perhaps on a Monday or Tuesday in the office. But that's today's training. That's what I will be doing today. And like every day, the training involves waking up and doing a little bit of exercise, recording a podcast, and then going out and doing either a walk, or in this case, the run is the main training, usually the exercise before the podcast is the main training. But let's talk about reflecting, because last week I walked you through my entire wheel of living, right? We talked about how those 4 quadrants work together to give us a good overview of where we stand in certain areas of life, or at least gives me a good overview on where I stand in certain areas of life and how that might help me plan ahead and see where I maybe need to take a bit of action. Maybe less action is needed, but at least an indication of what is going well and what requires attention in life. So we talked about health, talked about relationships, we talked about finances, and we talked about pursuits. I also explained the reason for that order, right, is that when we're not healthy, the only thing we want to do is become healthy, whether that's physically, right, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or financially. Those have big impact, or the sum of those factors have a big effect on our overall sense of health and well-being, and therefore are important to make sure we understand where we stand there and if we're doing well in those areas or not. Then we look at relationships. The other cornerstone, I think, of health and well-being is the love and connections we share with my wife and children, family, friends, and then the communities that we're a part of, and the communities that we're a part of, and what that means in terms of our contribution and our sense of utility and usefulness in society, and also putting our skills and knowledge and experience to work for the benefit of everyone around us, right? Participating, so to speak. Then we look at another foundation, which is our finances. And I know we talked about financial health in the health section, because I think there's a lot to be said for our physical, mental, emotional health and our financial health. They're related. But here we look specifically at 3 levels of finances, that is our income, and specifically our income balanced against the cost of living in the area where we live and work. Then our savings, or my savings, right? Am I able to put a portion of that money aside? And do I have enough set aside for emergencies, for unexpected expenses? If I were to lose my job, would I be able to get by for 3 to 6 months as I search for new, different work? And from there we look at investments for the future, right? So we're talking about what's going on in the future and how much of our income today am I able to put aside for when I'm not able or don't want to work anymore, and what life's going to be like then. Ayan Numan, hey, thanks for dropping by, saying hi. I hope you're doing well where you're at in the world. I hope life is treating you well. It is Saturday morning, 6:34, where I'm at, and we're doing a bit of reflecting on life and living this morning. And I appreciate you dropping by and saying hi. And if you have any questions about health, fitness, longevity after 40, for me, you go ahead and ask them. And otherwise, I hope you have a good end of day or start of day, wherever you're at, right? So investing in the future. And then finally, the final quadrant there is our pursuits, the mastery of things for the sake of mastering them, having hobbies. And I don't think fitness and sports per se are hobbies, even though maybe a sport like tennis or golf is. I'd put those more in the realm of activities related to health and fitness, but it is true that you can see those as a hobby and something that you enjoy doing, and you get the benefit of all of those. But I'm also thinking more of things that we can do that are maybe a bit of creative or expressive. But then again, who am I to judge or put a label on it? So maybe a sport like tennis or an activity like pool or padel, or a hobby like painting or drawing or making music, right? But something that we can come back to regularly that requires skill, focus, time, dedication, and that shows clear levels of improvement. Well, actually, then I guess things like martial arts and some sports also have that technique and that leveling and that gradation of intensity to them that maybe qualify them in this area as well. There, I learned something by talking on my own to myself here on video. And those are important because having a sense of being good at something when life turns against us is very important. Having good relationship in place when life turns against us makes us more resilient. Not having to worry about our finances too much when life turns against us makes us more resilient. We don't all have to be millionaires or billionaires to be doing well in life, at least not in the system that I live in, where there is Social Security and a good healthcare system, right? Because we can deal with the adversities and then move on in life. So today, for reflection, I would say pick one of those 4 quadrants, whether it is your health or your relationships or finances or your pursuits, and just really take some time and sit down and think, how am I doing in this quadrant? How am I doing in terms of the reality that I live in, right? Do I feel stressed about my health or about my relationships or about my community, about my finances, or about not having any fun pastime or not getting around, because maybe sometimes it's a time issue, not getting around to any of my pastimes or pursuits? Do I feel that I am missing something in any of those areas? Or actually, if you go through the areas, you're like, oh, well, actually, health-wise, I'm pretty good. Relationships-wise, I'm pretty good. Finance-wise, I'm pretty good. Pursuits-wise, I'm pretty good. Hey, things maybe are going pretty well for you at the moment. That's great. So let's plan ahead. What are we doing to make sure that we can keep doing well over time? Because just like with health and fitness, personally, physically, right? Health and fitness for life also requires consistency. The principles aren't very different. If we don't consistently show up and do the work, so if for my life, my overall life, not just the workouts that you see, because I always say there are 23 and a half other hours in the day that we need to be mindful of. But if for life I don't show up and do the heavy lifting and prepare, right, for friendships, set up dates in calendar, make sure I show up for birthdays, call people, send cards, check in with people, see how they're doing. If I don't do all of that planning for finances, if I don't plan ahead for the year, make a yearly budget, understand what the expenses and incomes are and where the problems are, see where we can save, see what we can invest in, see what we can do. If I don't set aside time to invest in my hobbies and the things that I enjoy doing, then I am very unlikely to be consistent. And the same is true for sleep, food, nutrition, right? Sleep, food, exercise, right? In terms of physical fitness. So principles are transferable, but for life it's a bit more complicated because we're usually dependent on other factors and other people. The industry we work in, the boss we have, the schedules of our friends, the schedule of the school, of our families, unexpected occurrences. Flu season might knock you out for a week or two if you can't catch a bad bug, right? So there are all of these kinds of things that make being consistent in those areas harder. The fridge breaks, the washing machine breaks, the fridge and the washing machine and the car all break down in the same month. That's a huge financial expense in one go. how do we make sure we're ready to cover something like that, right? Usually it's already good practice to have like sufficient money on hand stashed away somewhere just to be able to replace one of the appliances in the house quickly and without any hassle, so that it doesn't interrupt too much the flow of living. But being consistent across those areas is absolutely important. And today we have a unique opportunity, if you're listening to me, to just reflect on the last 7 days, on the things that we've done for our health, on the things that we've done in our relationships, on the things that we've done in our finances. Have we been smart with our money? Have we maybe taken a look at what the cost of living is in the area that we're at? Because sometimes we're not even aware of this balance, right? We just think, well, we make money and we spend money, and that's the way the world works. But actually, if you look at your income in this place and then look at the cost of living right now, so your cost of living, but also the general cost of living in the area around you, and maybe +1, +3, +5, +8, +10 kilometers, you might find that actually a bit further away, but still within a reasonable distance of a commute, the cost of living might drop significantly. And that gives you more space to save and invest in the future. The same. Not giving financial advice, just giving you an idea to play with, right? Have we made any unintended or unexpected expenses this week? And were they part of a plan? Could we afford them? Or were we spending money we didn't have? And why, I think, is an important question to ask ourselves. It took me well into my early 30s to take charge of financial health. That had a huge impact on my health in general, and on my relationships, and on my ability to do my pursuits and follow my passions and my hobbies, right? So becoming financially secure is so important that I've given it its own quadrant in my reflections. We just go through those 4, spend 5 or 10 minutes, maybe go for a walk while you do it, so you get the movement in while you're reflecting on them, and you can see where life is taking you at the moment. And we're going to do this again next week. We're going to do this again the week after, and the week after. We're going to be doing this together for a very long time, because I think if we can create a cadence of weekly check-ins on this podcast together, who knows, we might subtly but slowly and surely change the direction of our life for the benefit of ourselves and the people around us. That's all I have for you this morning, right? We've made a lot of small changes over the last 2 weeks. We're going to talk about food again tomorrow, sleep again tomorrow, food on Tuesday, movement on Wednesday, friendship on Thursday, pursuits and mastery on Friday, and motivation on Saturday. So we have 6 new talks planned. If that's something you're interested in, go ahead, check out my channel, subscribe, and we can continue the conversation. My coffee is almost done, so I'm going to get ready to go out for that run that I want to do this morning. And then we're off to a good start on this Sunday morning, friends. Ayan Noman, thanks for dropping by, for saying hi. I appreciate you dropping by, saying hi in chat. For anyone else who's dropped by and said hello, thanks for watching, thanks for being here. My name is Toby, I'm 41 years old, and I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep, minding what I eat, showing up to do some work and some workouts, investing in my friendships, spending time with people I love and care about, and doing things that I enjoy, and generally trying to live a stress-free life. So, if those are things you're interested in, then go ahead and hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Remember, friend, we're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. It's the person we are today is going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. So a bit of kindness is going to go a long way. All right? There are enough people out there who want to put us down, so we lift ourselves up. Remember that. And the only way to get anything done by showing up and doing the work. So I'll see you tomorrow. And remember, friends, subscribe.